Mingxing High School is Changning's best high school. Apart from that, it is one of Changning's few high schools. Many wealthy children are from the Jiangyi and Qinan regions. Mingxing School is commonly recognized as China's best high school. Dr. Xiao had not anticipated being handled in this manner. As soon as he awoke, he was jolted awake by being doused with a bowl of water on his head. He was on the toilet, shaking a book, when he heard someone outside kicking the toilet door. "For sets of eyeballs. Come on in. You should go out there. If you wait for us to capture you, it will not work." A boy's yells could be heard, and the tone of his voice indicated that he was not pleased. Other individuals shouted in response. "Brother Hao, this stinky kid dares to criticize you. We'll add urine afterward, this youngster is going to pee. Ha 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 ha." This person's notion appears to have received widespread support, and Dr. Xiao, who is currently sitting on the toilet, has already recognized the current situation. He appears to have enrolled and is currently being bullied on campus. Seriously, for Dr. Xiao, who has never attended school and instead relies on family education, attending school is a goal he has set for himself after hearing how the orphanage children described it. He was almost in heaven, but he never got there. Dr. Xiao, on the other hand, is overjoyed. He's never been to school before, so he's ecstatic. "Host, are you present?" 618. After seeing how peaceful the host was while being watered, he knew it wasn't Dr. Xiao. Dr. Xiao was, after all, a monster. If it is being treated this way, there must be something that can be done. Dr. Xiao raised his lips, pondered that person, and responded to 618 after hearing his speech. "By the way, this is me." He observed that the system mall had been updated and that new items had been added while he spoke. But there is no time to go over this now. Observing the activity outside the door. If he doesn't go out again, those boys might throw pee at him. His body shuddered slightly as he stood up straight. It's almost certainly cold, so getting wet will almost certainly result in a cold. At this point, 618 has reacted. Its host has even been bullied. "Host. Do you want a scalpel? How dare they treat you this way? It's a shame." At this moment, 618 had no idea that its thoughts had changed along with its host, that it had been with Dr. Xiao for a long time, and that the entire system had become quite violent. However, 618 knew that the host would not casually kill. It's easy to kill, so even if there's a scalpel, maybe the host won't kill? Dr. Xiao did not answer after hearing section 618. He raised his left hand, and a delicate scalpel appeared on his left hand. This familiar feeling made Dr. Xiao feel very comfortable. Before the people outside had any movement, Dr. Xiao directly opened the door and walked out. As a result, he saw 4 boys in school uniforms outside. They swept the faces of these people, and Dr. Xiao recognized their identities. The name of the leader was Zhang Tianhao, and he was also called Brother Hao by 3 other people. He is quite famous at this school. Dr. Xiao was unfamiliar with Zhang Tianhao's other 3 younger brothers. After all, Zhang Tianhao's name alone can be shocking. After all, these are the top 3 people in the school every year, drinking, fighting, and sleeping during class. However, they still rank 3rd in the class every year. Oh, maybe it is the 3rd in the city. Mingxing High School admitted these rich and powerful children, but it is not just about money. Only capable people can enter this high school. Zhang Tianhao originally intended to pour the urine into the toilet to force Dr. Xiao out. However, they did not expect Dr. Xiao to come out by himself. Suddenly, he saw the scalpel in Dr. Xiao's hand, glanced at it for a bit, and then made a mocking smile. "Well, let me see, where did this timid, 4-eyed man get such a small knife? Do you wish to respond? Don't bother, you still want to attack us despite your modest stature?" The other 3 folks laughed once he finished speaking. One of them jumped to his feet and made plans to beat up the man in front of him, who turned the boss into Wei's little girl. However, the Wei family's little girl refused to cooperate because of the unfortunate ghost in front of them. Dr. Xiao glanced through the wet glasses at the person in front of him, but he was expressionless. After that, he took off the lens with his right hand, exposing his original appearance. This look stunned Zhang Tianhao at first glance. They never thought that this man, who is timid like a mouse, had such a face, not much worse than those stars on TV, since he always wore such old-fashioned black-framed glasses and his hair covered his forehead, and he usually had a daunting look. It really made Zhang Tianhao not see this person's excellence, and now that he suddenly saw the true face of this person, even Zhang Tianhao was stunned, let alone other people. Dr. Zhao's gaze landed on Zhang Tianhao's body as he shook the water off his head, and his voice was incredibly chilly. Do you want to go through with it? Such uncaring statements would be considered a provocation in Zhang Tianhao's ears. When he said such a thing so unexpectedly, Zhang Tianhao found it intolerable and sneered, remembering how he had always bullied this individual. You're arrogant enough already. Dr. Xiao was told by Zhang Tianhao. Dr. Xiao stood there, the scalpel in his palms spinning rapidly. When the other party rushed over, he turned his side directly, then his left and right hands were quickly raised, and his right hand directly held Zhang Tianhao's hands. Dr. Zhao's left hand that was holding the scalpel had already reached Zhang Tianhao's neck. For a moment, bright red blood flowed down from Zhang Tianhao's neck. Such a shift occurred almost instantly, and Zhang Tianhao's younger brothers did not respond at all when they saw their boss restrained in the coward's hand. Zhang Tianhao wanted to struggle, but he didn't dare because the knife on his neck was exceedingly sharp. The discomfort erupted from his neck with a tiny movement. This was not a good sensation. The ambience felt a little stiff. Several other younger brothers wanted to help at first, but they were now terrified that Dr. Xiao would harm Zhang Tianhao, so they could only threaten weakly. There are 4 eyes. You abandoned Brother Hao. Otherwise, you will regret it. 4 eyes, you let go of Brother Hao. In the ears of Dr. Xiao, the threat was not really a threat. The scalpel in his hand didn't even move. As long as he was willing, the life in his hand would easily end in his hand, but there is no need to kill him as of right now. The scalpel in his hand was against Zhang Tianhao's neck. Dr. Xiao slowly approached Zhang Tianhao, and the indifferent voice passed into Zhang Tianhao's ear coldly. Zhang Tianhao, I think you are really stupid. You are being used as a blade for someone else. Are you stupid? This statement directly caused Zhang Tianhao's anger to rise instantly, and he wanted to push Dr. Xiao away directly, but the sudden sting on his neck made him suddenly stop struggling, knowing that he was now in the hands of others and could not act lightly. You fart. Your mother is stupid. I'm 100 times smarter than you. That's good. The focus was successfully ignored. Dr. Xiao glanced at Zhang Tianhao, who had red ears because he was in close contact with him, and he felt a little helpless. Let your little brothers leave, I have something to tell you. What can you do to appease a furious dragon? The best way is to find a reason for the other party to compromise. Obviously, Zhang Tianhao was grumpy and liked fighting, but he was also the most logical. At the moment, he was being held directly by Dr. Xiao, and he was still in front of his own brothers, so of course he felt ashamed. At this time, when Zhang Tianhao heard what Dr. Xiao said, he was very satisfied, and he doesn't care about being held hostage. You guys go out first. I have something to say to this stinking boy. No one else is allowed in. In any case, he never felt that Dr. Xiao, a cowardly 4-eyed child, would kill him, so Zhang Tianhao was able to make such a request to maintain his face. When they heard this from their elder brother, these younger brothers didn't know what to do and could only retreat slowly. Brother Hao, do you really want us to get out? Get out of here. Are you not going to listen to me? Be careful how I deal with you later. The angry Zhang Tianhao looked very red. After all, as long as his brothers were here, they would see him being held hostage. Wouldn't it affect his wise and martial image? In the end, Zhang Tianhao's 3 younger brothers retreated, leaving only Dr. Xiao and Zhang Tianhao in the bathroom. Shouldn't you let go of your hand now? I promise I won't hit you. Obviously, he is the one who is threatened, but he still acts so superior. No wonder he was used by others. Dr. Xiao only thought that this person was very funny. He released the scalpel from his hand and pushed the person aside. Suddenly, Zhang Tianhao, who had been pushed out, lay on the wall. He was stunned for a bit and quickly turned to look at Dr. Xiao aggressively. 4 eyes. I don't think you want to live anymore. You dare to point a knife at me? Do you know what the name of Laozi is at Mingxing High School? Laozi is the school bully at Mingxing High School. Well, Zhang Tianhao had to admit that he was a Yan Kong man. He didn't like Dr. Zhao's eyes at first, but after seeing Dr. Zhao's true appearance at this time, he just felt that the 4 eyes were really pleasing to the eye and beautiful. The anger in his heart seemed to have disappeared. After all, he liked Wei Yenyuan because Wei Yenyuan looks good, Dr. Xiao in front of him looks better than Wei Yenyuan, and Zhang Tianhao likes beautiful people. In the words of a Yenkong person, as long as you have a nice face, you will be liked by people like Zhang Tianhao. He noticed that Zhang Tianhao's eyes were constantly lingering on his face. Dr. Xiao didn't feel anything. After all, he used to be a star for a while, and it was normal to be stared at, so he didn't feel anything about it. Well, the school bully is being used. Dr. Xiao nodded. He gave Zhang Tianhao a good look and said something that made Zhang Tianhao angry. 4 eyes. What are you talking about? Being used? What do you mean? Tell me exactly how I'm being used. Zhang. Irritable. Moronic. Tianhao, Yan Kong, at this time, watching his newly discovered beauty, he feels that he is being used and is very unhappy. Zhang Tianhao is like a big child, so Dr. Xiao only thinks that it is easiest to get along with this kind of person. He noticed right away that, after removing his glasses, the other person's eyes were always staring at him with that unobstructed appreciation. In addition to the girls chasing their stars, there is only one possibility. The boy in front of him is someone who likes anyone with a good face. Perhaps this is not a disease, but Dr. Zhao's previous psychiatrist told him that there is a person in this world who can see beautiful things in his eyes. Even if such beauty is false, they are willing to believe it. So, this Zhang Tianhao, who has no brains and has a hot temper, is easy to use by someone who has a nice face. This is about the way you like. I need to change into a new uniform now. Even though the person in front of him is also a man, the look on Zhang Tianhao's face is stiff. At this moment, looking at Dr. Zhao's embarrassed look, Zhang Tianhao doesn't know why he feels a little guilty. Looking at this good-looking person and the thought of treating such a good-looking person like this, Zhang Tianhao felt a little uncomfortable and almost instinctual. He took off his clothes and then stepped forward and passed them to him. Wear mine first, and I'll take you back to change. This was taken for granted, but Dr. Xiao noticed the clothes in the other's hands. He couldn't wear the other person's clothes because he had a slight fetishism. Dr. Zhao's glance directly hit Zhang Tianhao, who had an angry expression, his eyes widening and his hands shaking. 4 eyes. Do you hate me? I took off my clothes and gave them to you. You don't thank me, but dare you look down on me? After finally trying to please a beauty like this, Zhang Tianhao really didn't expect that he would be rejected, because if other people in the school could wear his own clothes, they would wake up laughing happily. I have a clean habit. Dr. Xiao smiled at Zhang Tianhao, letting the furious Zhang Tianhao lose his temper for a moment, feel a bit aggrieved, and then put on his clothes again. Why, cleanliness? It's because you just dislike me. But seeing that your clothes were wet by me, I'll take you back to my bedroom. I have several new uniforms for you. He seemed to be a little cautious about it, afraid that Dr. Xiao would refuse. You know, he has never been rejected before or was rejected by a good-looking person, and now he is suddenly rejected. It feels strange, but he can't help but want to please the other person. He would never have said it before. Dr. Xiao remembered his situation in this school and also knew that the wet uniform was now his only uniform. As a noble high school, Mingxing High School's school uniforms are also very expensive. This individual entered this institution with outstanding grades but no money or anything else. Furthermore, he is an orphan with nothing. Mingxing High School, fortunately, will give out school uniforms to everyone every quarter, so there will be no clothes to wear. However, if you receive this set from the school and wish to purchase additional school uniforms, say, a set of 5,000 per uniform, thank you for your business. This is obviously impossible for Dr. Xiao, an orphan. Then, please accept my gratitude. When Zhang Tianhao showed a smile again, Zhang Tianhao's originally unhappy eyebrows turned into a smile. This looks like a pug, cute and tight, but it makes Dr. Xiao feel that the person in front of him is somewhat similar to 618. You like cleanliness, huh? No problem. Thanks to my wit, there are several sets of school uniforms that I haven't worn in the bedroom, and although they are a bit big for you, they should be fine. Zhang Tianhao is taller than Dr. Xiao, and he reached over to pat Dr. Xiao's shoulder. Dr. Xiao should have avoided it, but his body was so wet that he did not intentionally avoid it. The wet feeling made him startled, and then he realized that it was going to be the end of September. Wearing soggy garments throughout this season's trip was extremely cold and unpleasant, so I stripped naked and handed them over to Dr. Xiao. Even if you feel my garments are filthy, you can start by wiping your hair. It's far too damp. What happens if you catch a cold? That's right, Zhang Tianhao is an unethical person. Seeing attractive individuals can change his perspective, especially since Dr. Xiao is attractive and it's natural for him to be friendly to attractive people. Thank you very much. This time, Dr. Xiao did not reject the opposing party. He took up Zhang Tianhao's clothes and began to wipe his hair so that Zhang Tianhao looked really beautiful when he looked at him, and his hair was very beautiful, and his fingers were all white, it was almost glowing. Zhang Tianhao's eyes are simply appreciating beauty. They do not seem uncomfortable or even very aggressive, and they give a comfortable feeling. After all, his eyes are full of appreciation and admiration, and just like seeing beautiful things, pure appreciation is always evident when Zhang Tianhao changes his clothes after brushing his hair. Even though it was a little wet, Zhang Tianhao felt good about serving the beauties. Feeling good, then it was strange to see that Dr. Zhao's knife was gone. Where was your knife before? Why is it missing? Dr. Xiao opened his left hand and stretched it out for Zhang Tianhao to see. As a result, Zhang Tianhao saw a sharp blade lying in Dr. Zhao's hand. This is a scalpel. It's very subtle and retractable. That is why it may be placed on your palm, no one will notice, and there is even a more delicate little blade that can be inserted in your mouth. Dr. Xiao believes he is not required to explain. Zhang Tianhao was astonished as he stared at the blade, his eyes expanding. Zhang Tianhao, who had never seen anything like this before, simply extended out his hand. He appeared to want to touch the blade when he noticed Dr. Zhao's hand step back. You're not going to let me touch it? Do you think I'll smear your knife? Zhang Tianhao was dissatisfied. Looking at Dr. Xiao with a complaint, he felt that he was deeply rejected by the beauty. It will hurt. Dr. Xiao explained that although the blade of this scalpel looks very thin, its sharpness is stronger than that of a dagger. Moreover, this is a system product. Originally, Dr. Xiao thought that the price given by the system would be expensive, but fortunately, it was cheap. After he produced the scalpel set, he felt that he was taking advantage. You know, there are hundreds of such scalpels. If you want to buy them in reality, it is estimated that they will cost millions. Hearing this, Zhang Tianhao felt that his neck felt a little painful for a moment. Then he remembered his neck injury. He quickly took a pouch out of his pocket and pressed it on his wound. He remembered that the person in front of him was the culprit for this. I still won't forget the fact that you injured me. Why are you so cruel? You caused me to be injured. I'll accompany you to your bedroom to change your clothes. You will accompany me later to see what we've look at what you've done. It's painful. He rushed over and asked Dr. Xiao to examine his wound, but Dr. Xiao already knew how badly he was hurt. Although he caused the other side to bleed, the knife wound was quite small. It is not as bad as you believe or think. Dr. Xiao doesn't mind appearing stupid because the other party is. After all, you should never argue with a moron. After the two had just negotiated, they came out of the bathroom. Sure enough, the three younger brothers who had left before were still no one else entered the toilet because they were guarding it against the outside. After personally seeing Zhang Tianhao come out, they hurried to him. How, brother, are you okay, brother Hao? No one else entered the toilet because they were protecting it from the outside world. What can he possibly do to me? Yes, yes, yes. Do you understand that you are not permitted to bully the Four Eyes beginning today? Not the Four Eyes, mind you, but Qingrong. He will be my brother in the future, as well as yours. Zhang Tianhao feigned to grab for Dr. Zhao's shoulders. He was a skilled guy. He was about to pat Dr. Zhao's shoulder when he realized Dr. Xiao was staring at him, and he had no alternative but to draw his hand. His three younger brothers watched with confusion on their faces and wondered what was happening. Why was it only for a while? How could their boss change so much? Then, who steals this person's Wei Yuan from the boss? If before, the boss still had a few chances to win, but now look at this four-eye who took off his glasses. He looks so handsome, almost the same as the stars on TV. If they both pursued Wei Yuan, wouldn't it be impossible for the boss to catch up? The three younger brothers could only watch the boss happily move further and further away from his love rival while silently waxing his own boss. Can the boss still match up with Wei Yuan? I'm not sure if he wants to match up with Wei Yuan anymore. I think the boss wants to be with this four-eyed boy. I bet the boss must have changed his mind immediately. Otherwise, how can the boss be considered a Yan Kong? Zhang Tianhao didn't know about the discussion among the three people. He was very carefree. In addition to these three younger brothers, his other younger brothers were distributed everywhere in the school, so Dr. Xiao and Zhang Tianhao came along all the way. Men and women on the road came to say hello. Yes, Zhang Tianhao, who is also known as the school bully, walked side by side with Dr. Xiao to show that he is familiar with this type of person who exhibits Yan Kong's symptoms. Yan Kong's curses. They find that those with strong principles are the most appealing. School, glancing at the host, who had a firm grip on Zhang Tianhao. 618 couldn't figure out what had happened. This should obviously be the host's first act of campus violence at this time. Why did he suddenly turn into a worshipper? They were soon in Zhang Tianhao's bedroom. Zhang Tianhao's bedroom, in contrast to Dr. Zhao's special enrollment, is exceedingly elegant and a single room. When Zhang Tianhao brought Dr. Xiao into the bedroom, he met Wei Yunjia and Huo Wenyu. When Wei Yunjia saw Dr. Xiao, he was stunned. Even Huo Wenyu looked at Dr. Xiao for a long time and did not know what was going on until the two disappeared. In the room, the two talents looked at each other with a little suspicion in their hearts. When he came to this luxurious bedroom for the first time, although Dr. Xiao had lived in many very good places in the world before, this school bedroom still gave him a different feeling. How is it? My bedroom is decorated with my own design, and it is my favorite. Zhang Tianhao showed off with enthusiasm, then went to the closet and took out a new school uniform for Dr. Xiao. There is a bathroom over there. You can take a bath directly. Change your clothes after taking a shower. I'll wait for you. Zhang Tianhao pointed Dr. Xiao to a place. Dr. Xiao removed his clothing, bowed slightly, and proceeded to the restroom. Dr. Xiao pretended he was at home. This gaze even makes Zhang Tianhao think that this person could be a friend. Isn't it fantastic that he's not as shy as he used to be? I was abruptly reminded of the other party's terrible black-rimmed glasses and how he looked wearing them. Zhang Tianhao rushed to his own cabinet. In it, after it was opened, I was suddenly reminded of the other party's hideous black-rimmed glasses and how beautiful they made him look. Although Zhang Tianhao is not myopic, he likes to pretend. So he bought a lot of different styles. He picked out 3 kinds of glasses, some gold-rimmed, some smart and elegant, and some in cooler colors. When it was on the table, he thought that Dr. Xiao would definitely look good in them. Thinking of this, Zhang Tianhao immediately became very happy and then took out his new school uniform from his own cabinet and changed it. His clothes were often not washed. He bought these school uniforms in several sets, and the people at home would usually wash his old ones, which he would then come and grab. Outside, Zhang Tianhao worked hard to dress, while Dr. Xiao, who was in the bathroom, was taking a bath while looking at the items in this mall. There he saw a lot of golden fingers, long-lived golden fingers, red envelope golden fingers, wealthy golden fingers, lucky golden fingers, etc. Of course, their prices are out of this world as well. 618. What are these meant for? Dr. Xiao hadn't read novels very much before, so of course I didn't know that all of these golden fingers originated from those fictional worlds that were fabricated. One by one, the functions are out of the ordinary, but he just feels that these so-called golden fingers are a little too expensive. After choosing the cheapest one, the lowest price is 1 million male god points. Shuaba system allows the user to have good grades in school without the user having to do much. At this time, the host remembered that the system had been upgraded and quickly explained this to him. Host, this is because the host's male god value has exceeded 3 million, so the system mall has been automatically upgraded. A new world-conscious golden finger purchase interface has been opened, and the purchase price of golden finger is set by underworld rules. According to the world where the host is located, the mall recommends the Shuaba system, golden, to the host because the price is the lowest. Thinking that this golden finger only needs 1,618,000, is a bit exciting. Such a cheap cheat. As long as its host uses this Shuaba system, he can reach the pinnacle of life in minutes. Dr. Xiao is not very interested in this so-called Shuaba system. With a learning space, he has a lot of time to study without having to rely on this so-called Shuaba system. He looks at his 3 million male god points. Suddenly, Dr. Xiao remembered the feeling of being sought after by those lovely fans in his last life. The feeling was too refreshing. When Dr. Xiao experienced it once, he felt it was unforgettable. A look at the golden fingers of world consciousness reveals that there are several star categories. Big Star System, Star, Super System, Uranus, Super System, Uranus Superstar System, Super Idol System. Looking at these messy systems, Dr. Xiao suddenly became curious. 618. Are the cheats in these malls, in those systems, and the like the same as you? Originally, 618 thought its host would ask about the function of the Shuaba system, but when it heard this, it was immediately unhappy and immediately retorted. Host, how can we be the same? I am a man-made super male god system with a cutting-edge update library. In addition to the system store, I have other functions that need to be unlocked by the host, but just so you know, there is no self-awareness at all for those systems. They are just silly machines. How can you compare them with me? 618, feeling belittled, is not afraid of Dr. Xiao and strives to maintain its dignity as a super male god system. Oh, 618, you are amazing. His mouth curled up, and he praised 618. Dr. Xiao then purchased the rich man's system in the blink of an eye after purchasing the Shuaba system. This also costs 1 million male god points. The wealthy prodigy allows the host to not have to worry about money at all, but the host must spend a set amount of money each day with the system's black card. Dr. Xiao spent a lot of money for the first time to purchase the golden fingers. He wanted to go through it, even though it was heartbreaking. What is the distinction between this golden finger method and 618? As for why this object is placed second, he fears it is due to the world's distinctive setting. Because the majority of students at Mingxing High School are straight-A students, the Shuaba system comes in first, followed by a system that can make you rich. In other words, money is the most essential thing in the world, other than education. It was both excited and sad after watching its host purchase a golden finger. It was ecstatic that the host could finally rely on it to finish the world, but another thought made it feel wrong. It is another system that helps the host, and when it thought about it, it was about to cry. Dr. Xiao didn't know the thoughts of 618. He was very curious about the golden finger he bought. After confirming the use, he saw a line in front of him. Does Dr. Xiao belong to the wealthy, prodigal system? Probably because of the suppression of 618, this system will not speak about binding. Yes. Dr. Xiao gave the answer, and soon, 618's voice rang. Binding succeeded. Do I need to post a novice task? Dr. Xiao was familiar with and readily recognized the voice of 618, and he instantly felt powerless. 618, said the host pitifully. I didn't mean to, host, I only wanted to check what code was in their system. As a result, I ate it whole. I can now make the host wealthy and delegate chores to the host. I'm confident the host will not hold it against me. It felt mannerly, and I was afraid that the host would blame me for it. 618 was so ashamed that Dr. Xiao couldn't decide whether to cry or laugh. Of course, I won't hold you can post it in my situation because you can upload the task and circumstances. He has no idea whether the so-called affluent prodigal system will release tasks, but if he allows 618 to release tasks, it should not be too difficult. Host, you are great. I love you. Now the prodigal system has released a novice task. I ask the host to spend 2 million in one day. Come on, host. The black card is already in your pocket. Dr. Xiao was so annoyed by such a flirtatious voice, and his voice had cooled down after speaking in 618. Shut up. The simple 2 words made 618 silent, and it didn't want to speak. However, it was discovered after searching on Baidu on the Earth network that if someone does something wrong, they can be forgiven by others as long as they act coquettish. Act coquettish. However, why is its host treating it like this? Poor 618 can't distinguish between the two concepts of coquettishness and nausea. Treating coquetry as nausea is a terrible thing. After Dr. Xiao took a bath and changed his clothes, he really saw a black card in his pocket. After taking it out, he saw that this is the black card of BNP Paribas, and he somewhat understands how this so-called wealthy system operates already. Although he doesn't know where the money in this system comes from, according to 618, this money should exist in BNP Paribas, like this black card but also the global card. As long as it is held, he can go anywhere and enjoy the highest level of treatment. Dr. Xiao also had several such cards before, but he did not like to go out much. Putting the black card back into his pocket, Dr. Xiao began to blow his hair. After a while, the hair was blown dry. He noticed Zhang Tianhao waiting there after leaving the bathroom, dressed in a new school uniform and sporting. He was currently wearing cool sunglasses on his face. At the moment. Isn't it true that I'm quite attractive? He lifted his brows, making him appear somewhat attractive. Despite his glowing yellow hair, Zhang Tianhao's complexion was white and gentle, and his face was delicate and attractive. He laughed like a lively big boy, and it was difficult to make people disgusted. Well, you're handsome. Dr. Xiao nodded. After hearing this compliment, Zhang Tianhao quickly removed his glasses and offered Dr. Xiao 3 glass cases from the side. Aren't your old glasses shattered? As a result, I chose the glasses for you. Which one do you prefer? You can have all of them if you want. Zhang Tianhao is very courteous and zealous about pleasing Dr. Xiao. Dr. Xiao can see the other person's eagerness, but he stretched out and accepted the cases. He gazed at the 3 glasses and raised the corner of his mouth after touching the gold glasses with his fingertips. But then Dr. Xiao closed the 3 cases, saying, "In fact, I am not short-sighted, and wearing glasses is only to disguise my appearance." His words rang in Zhang Tianhao's ears, leaving him speechless. He couldn't explain what he was seeing when he looked at Dr. Zhao's perfect face in front of him. How can you hide your wonderful looks? If it were up to me, I would broadcast it worldwide. Dr. Xiao laughed again after hearing Zhang Tianhao's statements. He appreciated dealing with such a pure-hearted individual, and he reflected on this individual's deeds, stating, himself, saying, "This type of appearance was once a sin to me." Do you enjoy Wei Yuanyuan? Is Wei Yuanyuan attempting to teach me anything?